I started doing an open mic here on Sunday nights called Matt Myra's Day Off because it was my only day off of the week. So Sunday nights we would do an open mic here. I'd hosted it with Paul Sebas. Kyle Clark was our tech person in exchange for 3 minutes of stage time. He would come here and run the board, and it was a tedious open mic and a wonderful group of people, and there were so many great comics that came through, and just to do 3 minutes of time.
Was bartending the Meltdown show before it was the Meltdown show. It was called Comedy Meltdown. And they were kind of, I don't know, if you've been to Meltdown, you've seen like the big posters on the wall. It was different hosts every time, so it'd be a lot like Ed Salazar, Link Patch, Jonah Ray was doing it quite a bit. And then I believe they reached out to Jonah, and he became the permanent host.
April 2011, we started, and Danielle just hung out while I worked for free.
Shut up, I was doing PR.
And we started in 2011 and started producing shows around then. And then after that, after Emily left, she pretty much gave the keys to Danielle, and she became the program director, and I became the stage manager. And then we ran the theater together till 2014.
2.5 years.
2.5 years running it. And then we still continued to produce shows till end of 2016.
So I moved from New York in 2012, and in New York I was on payroll at UCB, and like a lot of the UCB people at that time who came from New York to LA, I had every confidence I could just waltz into Los Angeles UCB and get my job there, and I didn't. But NerdMelt took me in like a refugee, and I'm grateful for it. I'm very grateful to Chris and to Emily, who approved my hiring, and it was I didn't intend to take over a risk when I moved to Los Angeles, and it was happening here. It was hosted at the time by Pete Holmes and Kumail Nanjiani, and I was the producer, and then everyone quickly saw that I am way more talented than Pete and Kumail, which is why I'm so much more successful than they are now, and that's why I host the show, and that never would have happened without NerdMelt.
It was that a job moved me to LA, and I lived in this neighborhood. And then the Dan Harmon Chevy Chase voicemail thing was like in the news. And when just doing your homework about where you live, I was like, oh, this is close to my house. Like, I can go to this place where people play voicemails from Chevy Chase. So then I went here, and have you talked to Jenny Fine?
No, I haven't talked to her yet.
Jenny Fine was working the box office, and I gave her my name, and she was like, that's a cool name. And I was like, I'm hanging out here. This is the nicest Just saying, you have a cool name was the nicest thing anyone in Los Angeles had ever done to me. So, yeah, and then I just keep hanging out. Like, I got to know the events that, like, Danielle was program director back then, and she put on Sketch Melt and Booze Cruise, and I really liked those events, and just started being a regular. Then I started interning, then house managing, then stage managing.
Well, I listened to a bunch of podcasts back when I was still living in London, and I would always just hear the comedians would always just say, like, oh yeah, when we were just hanging out at Meltdown, they would I would just hear the word, they would just talk about this place, Meltdown, and they would just make it sound like this one place where it's just sort of like a gathering where everybody would end up. So it was basically through podcasts, and also they recorded Harmontown here, so at the beginning of every podcast it was live from Meltdown Comics, Harmontown.
It was the first show I did here was the first Tournament of Nerds, where I got second place. And then that's where Jonah saw me, and then was like, I'm doing a monthly show here. So I started doing shows with him. We did that for a couple years, and then that sort of steamed out of that. And then a few years after that, Kumail and Emily came along, and we all started the Meltdown show. So it's almost been a decade of my life at this fucking store.
What I love about Meltdown is seeing friends, being in that little backstage room, catching up, kibitzing, fucking around, peeping out, watching the show. We used to smoke a lot more pot in the back where the parking lot is. Doesn't seem like people really do that anymore. But we used to. Yeah. And the crowds. It sounds boring. I mean, they're just the best crowds of the whole, in all of LA. Best crowds.
I was in grad school and I was starting to do stand-up like a ton and was hitting a lot of mics, and I commuted a lot, and so I would listen to podcasts, and Nerdist became like a podcast that like I listened to a ton, and I very distinctly remember like folding laundry and hearing them talk about on the podcast how they were going to open up a theater at Meltdown Comics. And I think I had gone to the Wednesday show prior to that, but when they were talking about how they were going to do like the full theater, I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard of. And they started doing the mic, and I missed the first open mic because I was graduating from college, or from grad school that weekend at USC. And so then the next one I came out to, and I got up and met a ton of people who went on to be a bunch of my best friends and favorite people and early people I knew in comedy and stuff like that, and then said to the management at the time, like, do you need somebody to like wash cars or like clean the floors or do anything? Like, I just want to be a part of this place. And I was the last hire of the first round of staff.
The first show that I did here, well, I can remember the first show that I've ever produced, which was Part 2, The Sequel Show, which was a show I ran with Tony Sam, and it would feature a lineup of stand-ups who were presenting like their fake sequels to existing movies. And I remember like Guy Branum did Independence 2 Dominion Day Canadian style, and he had like a presentation, like a slide presentation. I think that Kyle Kinane maybe did like Stand By Me 2. I think, Matt Bronger did like The Seventh Sense, I Smell Dead People.
I first performed at Meltdown, I think 9 years ago, because when everybody was just recently posting their farewell things on Instagram, I had to go look. I had to look up the date of the first time I performed here. And I think it was 9 years ago, but then I was like, when did they open the venue? Did they open it 10 years ago? So it was 9 years ago, and I remember that's my first year of I started stand-up 10 years ago, so I remember being super nervous. And like looking at the pictures even, I was like, oh, I look nervous in a still photograph somehow. But yeah, so 9 years ago.
I was drawn to Meltdown, basically I had heard that the open mic here was good, right when I first moved to LA, and I was like, cool, I'll come check it out. So I went to the open mic, and then I was like, yeah, it is cool, and I didn't even get pulled, and I still stayed for the whole freaking thing. And
it's unheard of.
Brag, I know, I'm a hero. So I was like, oh, this place is really cool, and then I met someone at a different open mic that said that this place was hiring and that he was leaving and they needed to hire someone. So I applied and I interviewed for the internship. I got it, and then the rest is history. But I just, what originally kind of drew me to this place was like just the vibe of like, it's a DIY venue. A lot of the pretension and stuff like that you see at some other comedy venues just is not a thing here. And it's just a venue made, like, run by people who love comedy. It's for people who love comedy. It's featuring people who are great at comedy and who love comedy. It's just a safe haven for comedy in LA.
I was really lucky. Early on, I was working for Nerdist. It was back when Nerdist wasn't really much of a company yet. Hardwick wanted to turn his personal website into something bigger. I happened to get lucky. I was writing for it. I was one of the first few people writing on it. And then he mentioned that he wanted to open up a theater, and I was just like, I'm in. Like, whatever it is, tell me what to do, and I'm there. And so he set me up with Emily, talked with Emily.
And then there we go. I was there day one.
I started coming here in 2012. I was producing a show with my friend Mo Welch called The Mo Show, which she brought from Chicago to LA. She was initially at the Hollywood Improv, and then she started bringing it here. So when we started bringing it here, that's when I started coming. She made me, okay, so she has this character called, well, she had this wicker basket that someone made into a shark head for a sketch. And when she brought the Mo Show over to Meltdown, she decided to make that shark a mascot, which meant that I was going to be wearing this wicker basket shark head, which we called Sharky Davis Jr. So I, in some ways, was trying to, like, she sent me out in the comic book store to bark at people, but I made the character decision to not say anything, so I just kind of waved at everybody. And I don't know if I actually got people into the seats, but I definitely endeared the people that were already coming.
I kind of posted some on Twitter that I really liked. I think one of the most exciting things was Robin Williams coming in for the, like, he was here for a bit and then he came over and he was like, "How are you, Hannah?" And I was like, "Holy shit!" That was really cool. Thank you.
When Robin Williams was here, he was on Harmontown because he was shopping for comics. He wasn't even booked on the show. But Dan, he brought him on stage and was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm just buying comics." He's like, "What comics do you like?" He's like, "Well, I started out collecting Mobius." He's like, "Does anyone out there know who Mobius is?" And I was like, "Crickets." And I go, "Woo!" And he goes, "That guy gets it." And I was like, "I do get it, Robin Williams. That's our moment."
Favorite memory from Meltdown? Probably seeing Robin Williams here.
I don't know. There's been so many. Probably Robin Williams in the back.
I think just the thing that a lot of people might even say too, anytime Robin Williams walked into this place, it was insane. It was surreal. And he didn't just come to like one show. Like he would come to the Wednesday Meltdown show. He would come to Set List. He came to Horrible Movie Night, and like it was crazy. And just
He
to
told
meet
you
him,
your show was fucking funny.
he told me my show was fucking funny, and that like made me like, oh my god.
Once in a while, I go to this place called NerdMelt, which is the back of Meltdown. It's a comic book store that has a comedy club. It's like a porn shop with a dance studio.
Nice.
But it's kind of wonderful. And I've been, doing Set List once in a while. And I mean, haven't been doing stand-up in a while, but doing improv, which is kind of great just to get back out and, throw the ball around.
And you do that for fun?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
What, for cash?
Yeah, well, certainly not, yeah.
Here's $1.40. I'm gonna buy a box of Twizzlers.
I used to spend a lot of time here with Gil, who is Gaston's son, the owner of the store. And one of my favorite memories of Gil is Robin Williams was shopping in the store, and Gil goes, "I want to go say hi to him." So he runs down there, and I see him talking to him, and then he comes back up, and I said, "What did you say to him?" And he goes, "I told him I loved Bicentennial Man." And I was like, why'd you choose that movie? And he goes, "I really like it." And I said, "Okay, all right."
When I think about the most meltdown-y, if I think about the moment that I think about this store and what made it special and what made this show work and what made the venue work, I always think about Gaston and the first, it was when we were talking about the first Summerfest, that Howard Kramer was doing a bit about how summer is the best season, and everyone says fall and spring, but that's bullshit because everyone actually really likes summer. And so we had sort of this idea to do something that was giving back to the fans. We had a little bit of money, and we didn't want to make money on the show. We didn't want to make profits. So we're like, how do we get rid of this money? And so we went to Gaston, and we're like, we want to do a show during the day that's going to be all day long in your comic book shop, making it impossible for customers to park around here. And also, we're not going to charge anybody any fucking money. And also, maybe you could buy people food. And Gaston's response is like what I think like the motto of Meltdown and his model of like how he runs this place, which was yeah man, do whatever you gotta do, man. Fuck yeah, you do you, man. You do it. As long as you do it and you care about it, it's gonna be fucking great. Like that's like Gaston to a T, and like that's really, like, from producing shows all over LA, that was the thing that made this place special, was that, like, you could come up to him and be like, we have this idea for this and this. Like, I did a speed dating Valentine's Day show here once. He was like, yeah, man, do it. That's cool, man. You got to do that. Like, you have to do that show. I was like, cool, okay. Like, we'll get it out. People will be here, man. We'll get people be having sex and shit. And I'm like, okay, cool, Gaston. Like, that's like the vibe of this place. I hope that, like, other venues and other people and other businesses that want to kind of have cool people around realize that, you know, investing in things that aren't profitable, investing in things that are just fun and cool will actually make their business better or make the world better, even if their business goes out of business after 25 years. But
Smiling. Just listening to what people say to each other in the green room, seeing some of my idols, and seeing some of my peers, and seeing some people who I'd never heard of who are now way huger than me. Just listening to what they had to say. 10 years from now, when I think back to this, and all I remember are the good times and how much heart myself and everyone who works here put in this room, how much love we left on that stage.
I have so many of them. There's so many awesome shows that we did here. My two favorite shows of all time are Horrible Movie Night and Can I Kick It? Those are the audiences there were nuclear. They were amazing to be around.
One of the cool things is one of the people I met here, and I actually got to talk to him because he's very nice. He's a lovely man. Is Scott Thompson, and he was the first gay person I ever saw on TV. And even more than that, he was the first gay person I saw on TV that was loving life, just fucking crushing it. And then I got to see him working out a character on stage, and it was a really cool moment for me. So that was great.
I mean, Jonah and Kumail's show was kind of like, I don't know if it was the original show, probably wasn't, but that was kind of the show that started it all, you know. In my mind, I could be wrong. And Emily, you know, Emily ran it. Oscar-nominated Emily V. Borden. And, yeah, it just was perfect. The room is perfect, the shape and the size and all the things just right. It doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to cost anything. You need a good sound system. That's the only thing. It's nice low stage, just a little something, a foot off the ground. It's plenty, less. It's probably 6 inches off the ground.
I think the thing that drew people most to this place was the sense of community that everyone has. You know, it's always been a nerdy playground, and then adding the theater into the back sort of made it a nerdy playground that had longer hours, so people just started to come out, and it was great. Like, I remember in the old days of doing the Meltdown show, Emily would hand everybody a $25 gift certificate to the store if you were on the bill. Like, they couldn't pay anybody, but, you know, Gaston was kind enough to arrange it so that we'd have $25 gift cards or certificates. They're actually just handwritten. They were cool. But some of my favorite memories are just wandering, like doing a set and then wandering the store, trying to figure out which Batman statue I didn't need I was going to take home.
Jason Alexander sort of like came up to the stand that was checking in at Meltdown, and I just like froze because I didn't know what to say. Like, I had to stamp him on the inside of the wrist as he went to the Meltdown show, and he just like made a joke and just said, "Oh, is this like a perfume? Is this gonna smell or something?" And I just stood and looked at him and like had nothing to say back, and just nodded. He was like, and there was just a moment where I was like, expected like I was gonna say something, and he thought I was gonna say something, and I just like, and then just the moment passed, and then nothing happened, and him and his group just kept walking, just said thank you.
One of the most memorable moments
even one of the most memorable podcasts I've ever recorded in this room was Harris Whittle's second episode of You Made It Weird. And my jaw had dropped and stayed dropped for the entire episode because it was such an insane story of his life. And even after that, I thought, what an incredible episode. This is amazing. I love, and then, it was amazing before, and it's still, I guess, more amazing now. It's shocking. It's sad. Harris wins.
I remember we did a show for one night only, and it never came back and only performed once. It was like a porno game show where they had games that involved porn, and one of the games was they pulled up chat roulette, and they would click on chat roulette until they would find someone self-gratifying, and when it came up, the audience had to cheer him on until completion. And it was a crazy night, a lot of weird games. Like I said, only one night only, and you can totally understand why. It was probably illegal.
The craziest thing was we had hired an intern. She had only been there for a few days, week or two, something like that. It was a Meltdown show. It's back in the day when we would be a little bit more liberal about drinking, and Hannibal Buress was on the show. He came back to the snack and saying, hey, what's up? And tossing him a drink and all that kind of stuff. And this new intern, she was really, really, really excited. Hannibal was her absolute favorite. So he sticks his hand out and like, hey, I'm Hannibal. It's nice to meet you. She shakes his hand, but then pulls him in and like, oh, I'm so excited, and bites his hand. Ah. And I'm just like, wow, that was weird. And he just kind of like went off and did his thing. And he goes back into the tech bit where Emily and everybody's kind of doing their thing during the show. And I get a text instantly from Emily, like, what is going on? Somebody just bit Hannibal? Give me the details. And I'm like, yeah, this girl is really excited for Hannibal, so she like playfully bit his hand. I hope. What's going on? And he drew blood. And so, needless to say, after Hannibal went up and just abandoned his material and just did nothing but talk about this incident for 10 minutes, she was gone. She also went from being sober to being basically blackout drunk in like half an hour. None of us even understand how she possibly did it, but it happened, and that was fucking insane. I never would have thought that biting a famous comedian would even be a possibility.
I think the craziest batshit thing that happened was I was interning for the Meltdown show specifically, and Dave Chappelle dropped in and did a very long set and sat on the stage and smoked cigarettes in, and I think the craziest thing is that everybody was just like so into it and like didn't mind, and I was just like, okay, great, that's the space. It's like everyone can just bring in their nonsense and everyone's just like into it and ready for it.
It's not necessarily working, but from being here, that feels extremely vain because I'm a little uncomfortable with people's eyes on me, but during the taping of the Meltdown show, when Todd Glass was on, who was the first podcast I started recording for Nerdist, he was in the store, everyone was in line, the store was filled with people, and we were talking, and then out of nowhere he just starts chanting, Aristotle, Aristotle, and everyone in the store started chanting it, and that was very overwhelming. I felt real good, but I was also incredibly embarrassed. I was like, these people have no idea what they're cheering for right now.
The craziest memory I have was Kyle Ayers was doing a show, and Rachel Bloom ran up to him and was like, someone just got shot outside. And we like went outside and there was blood all over a person in a Rolls Royce on their face, and it was fucking terrifying. We called the cops. The cops came, but the show still happened, which was really crazy, especially for Rachel, who like saw a bloodied person get literally shot. We heard it and we were like, whoa, and was actually shot behind the theater. And then I stayed until 4 a.m. with 20 police officers, and they ate all of our chips and they drank all of our water and they peed in our toilets. And I was here, couldn't leave. And then we took pictures of them fake arresting me and I sent them to my mom. But they were really lovely. The person who got shot did not die, so don't worry, though I think there were like some mobsters over at the Russian place over there. I don't know. But we don't really know what happened. They were in a Rolls Royce. They were rich. But they didn't die, so all was well. And that was pretty crazy.
Oh, the rat. So there was a rat here for a while, and we used to see him upstairs. He would be running around, and he would drink our waters. Like, we had to get protective cases because he kept biting into the waters and drinking our water bottles. And then he would go down onto the stage during shows and go up on the rafters. And people would be watching the show, and all of a sudden they start screaming, oh my God, there's a rat! And he would just be like peering over. And then also we had cockroaches, obviously. And I remember one time Nate Bargatze was on stage, and this cockroach was on the wall, and then it started flying, and it was like the fucking biggest cockroach. It was huge. And and everybody's just like, what do we do? And Nate stopped, and we're all just like, everyone's freaking out. And then it landed on the ground, and some guy came over, and he just got up and he stomped on it, and he said, you may continue. And that was it.
I guess my final words for Meltdown and NerdMelt are, I really thought you would outlast Golden Apple.
You know, it sucks that the place is closing. It's, you know, I think everybody who's been a part of it, for whatever, whether it's doing shows or running shows or working here, it's been such like an important place for so many people. But I think that like what I've been trying to go with it for whatever is, you know, the place goes away, the building's gone, but like everything that we did here, every friendship we made, every experience we had, everything that we like learned, like everybody carries all that in our like DNA into whatever happens in the future. So like the building's gone and the like place that we all congregate to goes away, but like everybody's still family. Everybody still had those experiences. Everybody still did all those things. And like, instead of thinking about it as like, oh man, like all those things are gone, like I think it's gonna be cool in like years from now when like a new generation of kids is coming along, and the same way like old Largo or the same way any of the other places around have been, where like new young improvisers and comedians and writers and stuff are like, oh man, you were part of like Meltdown? Like what was that like? And we can just like recount them and tell crazy stories of like all the stuff that happened here, and you know, Robin Williams and getting drunk in the parking lot and like you know, lighting shit on fire and almost burning the theater down and stuff like that. You know, just all like the crazy shit that happened. It's cool to have been a part of a thing that people will like remember. And, you know, we've all grown up. Everybody in this space has grown up and changed, and there's people who are married, there's people who have kids, there's, you know, all sorts of stuff. And it's just neat to know that, like, even though it's gone, like, we all keep living, unless they kill us along with the theater, which would be shitty.
You know, again, people I love and respected doing what I wanted to do. And then I got to be a part of it, being a stage manager. And it was a really great experience, and I'll miss it profoundly.
Sad to see Meltdown go, but such fond memories, and I think the owner is like excited for the next chapter. And another place will happen, hopefully with low ceilings. And people who like comedy, because that's what it takes.
My final words are that I'm really fucking sad that this place isn't going to be a thing anymore. One, it was the best job I've ever had, aside from my, wait for it, Hooters delivery driver job. Being a part of this community and having the opportunity to program this venue is like the best thing that could have possibly happened to me as a person who had recently moved to LA, didn't really know anyone, hadn't really found my space in the comedy community yet. And I'm just gonna really miss this place that's become my home in LA comedy.
We'll miss you. Rest in peace. Yeah, everything's been great. We had a great run. Shit.
Thank you. I was producing here, and Aaron Baker and Danielle Kramer allowed me to be an intern here, and the time that I've spent producing and interning here, I've learned a lot about myself, and I met some of my closest friends, and it's just been a magical place to grow up in. Yeah, thank you, and I'm sad you're leaving, but the community and the heart will live on forever.
NerdMelt kept me young. Now I'm on the other side of 30, the wrong side of 30, and NerdMelt's going away. I guess it's time to get old now.
Thanks for everything. Thanks for letting a rube put his feet down somewhere without feeling too stupid for too long.
I would say that whoever stole my fucking Diet Coke from the fridge can eat shit and die. That's my last word.
I'm glad it existed. It's like, was my whole reason for being in LA. It was it's the reason why I'm still here. It's everything to me. It means I'm sad that it's ending because I wasn't ready for it to end so soon. Even though I've been here for 5 years, I'm happy. I love everybody that I've met through here. Everybody's wonderful. I don't think I'm gonna find another place where everybody I meet is I know is immediately gonna be interesting. It's gonna be someone that I can engage in easily.
I'm real bummed. I'm really bummed. There's a list of reasons why I'm bummed. I will say lower on the list is the fact that I've got about 4 gift certificates that I never spent, because when you did shows here in the early days, they paid you with gift certificates, and I always forgot to bring them, so they're just sitting on my desk right now. But yeah, I mean, we were really spoiled as comics having this place, because not only is it just, again, friendly and welcoming and fun and like a fun place to hang out, but the audiences here were just so down. It definitely spoils you when you know you're in a place and you know you can kind of go off the rails and everyone's going to stay with you. That is so rare and unique, and it's a bummer to lose a place that almost always had that. Almost always guaranteed you a patient, flexible audience who was eager and who liked being there and just liked comedy. So that is a real bummer. And then again, for me personally, because I can walk here, I'm real bummed about that I can't walk here to hang out anymore.
2 things that I think should be mentioned is that a lot of television shows started in this theater, and I think that's really cool. Urban Dictionary with James Davis became a TV show. We did the test runs for Slide of Mouth. I always say Slay. That's embarrassing. Slide of Mouth, Justin Willman. We had Not Safe with Nikki Glazer. We had At Midnight do its test runs here. The Meltdown became a show. That's just really cool too. It was a place for people to test things and make them true television shows for the public outside of LA to enjoy. And I like that a lot. And lastly, I think it's really cool that NerdMelt was run by 4 women, because women are great. And I'm proud of that. I think comedy in people's heads is a male-dominated place. I think people are like, women aren't funny, blah, blah, blah. And I would say Emily, Danielle, and Caitlin are very good company to be in. Some strong, cool ladies. And I would say we're all very different. And that we all kind of, our runs at the theater kind of brought new things to it. I would say they were all better directors than I was. They're all really, really cool women, and put their heart and soul into this place. And I think that's a key thing to mention. not to forget that all the people who helped also, like Aaron and Nolan and Kelly and all that. But yeah, so there were some lovely men that helped run this thing. And Nolan, every week, would open the back of his car and put in jugs of water and chips. Let's not forget. I don't think NerdMelt or Meltdown will really die because there's a lot of people that are going to remain groups of friends and shows that I don't know. I just don't think NerdMelt is... we're saying goodbye as a space and all things must come to an end, but I think there were a lot of people that became really close working here and coming here and loving it here. And I think the beauty of LA is that right when this is leaving, the very cool Dynasty typewriter is opening up, and there's different venues that come and go, and that's how it goes. But this was a very special place, and I'm happy that so many of the people from here are still in my life in order to kind of keep the memory alive.
I guess I consider Meltdown Gaston. It would be... I mean, Meltdown is not just Gaston, but this is his place. Meltdown is a people, not a place.
We had an amazing time here. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of stress, but like some of the most fun years. It was like having a playground where we could just do...
It's a clubhouse.
Yeah. We could try out new stuff. It was a workout room. We saw so many people grow and like have crazy careers. Met some of our best friends. So this place will always have a melty spot in my heart.
Yeah, this is just friends and family here, and it doesn't end after the doors shut. It's like I still see all these people all the time. We go camping, we go out to eat, we go drink beers. It's like it doesn't end here, and I don't think it should. People are gonna talk about this place forever, and they already started talking about it a couple years after it was already in. Like people would talk about it from other states and countries and stuff, and that's the cool thing. Is just like it all started in this little space with just a bunch of people just volunteering their time and putting the love into it.
Yeah,
So,
it's all held together with love. So it's really hard to recreate.
I don't think it'll ever be able to do it again this way. It'll happen, like people will do it, but it's not going to be what it was for these 7-ish years that it was around.
Yeah, it's
But
unique.
yeah, go Meltdown. Go NerdMelt.
I always appreciated NerdMelt and Meltdown while it was happening, but it never all dawned on me how insanely lucky we all are for having been here, because there's never gonna be, there may never be another place that is such a complete community of people where you can show up any time of day and there's gonna be someone you know, or you can just hang out and it'll be fine. I've never felt so at home or comfortable anywhere else. It's crazy.
Goodbye, but don't forget it. I hope that all the people that have walked through that come here see what something can be and make their life about that same energy and that same vibe. Like be welcoming and be friendly and be creative. Like take what this place was doing and take it with you.
I spent a good 7 years of my life here. My best friendships came out of here. My favorite moments, memories. I think we put together something real special. Francisco's flicking me off. I think we did something real special, and I think we started with a big splash and managed to ripple through the LA comedy scene real quick. And I think it's because we weren't trying to be a comedy venue. It was more about being a clubhouse, a place where friends, like-minded people, strangers could get together, do something ridiculous, something no one else would probably want done, just to do it. And somehow that was successful. And so I hope moving forward, someone was captured by the spirit of that and can go on to make something else in Los Angeles or wherever, but hopefully Los Angeles. So this kind of feeling can come back, if not for us, for anybody. This place was special.
If I'd gone off and you caved in and we broke it off, I'd be lost, I'd be chasing some broke down dream.